confidence in our economy we're building. Let me tell you who else is noticing that. Donald Trump. Did you see what he recently said about that he wants to see the economy crash this year? A sitting president. As they say in my face, bless me, Father, for, I mean, come on, man. When there's a crash, when there's a crash, I hope in the next 12 months, he went on to say, it's unbelievable. It's un-American. How can anyone, especially a former president, wish for an economic crash that would devastate millions of Americans? Well, let me tell you what he really means. Donald Trump knows this economy is good and strong and getting stronger. He knows that while it's good for America, it's bad for him politically. Trump also said, the one president he doesn't want to be is Herbert Hoover. Well, Donald is... As you know, initially, the president of Mexico, Sisi, did not want to open up the gate to allow humanitarian material to get in. I talked to him. I convinced him to open the gate. I talked to Bibi to open the gate on the Israeli side. I've been pushing really hard to get humanitarian assistance into Gaza. There are a lot of innocent people who are starving, a lot of innocent people who are in trouble and dying, and it's got to stop, number one. Number two, I was also in the position that I'm the guy that made the case that we have to do much more to increase the amount of material going in, including fuel, including other items. I've been on the phone with the Qataris, I've been on the phone with the Egyptians, I've been on the phone with the Saudis to get as much aid as we possibly can into Gaza. There are innocent people, innocent women and children who are also in badly in need of help. And so that's what we're pushing. And I'm pushing very hard now to deal with this hostage ceasefire because, I've been working tirelessly in this deal. How can I say this without revealing it? To lead to a sustained pause in the fighting, in the actions taking place in the Gaza Strip. And because I think if we could get the delay for that, the initial delay, I think that we would be able to extend that so that we could increase the prospect that this fighting in Gaza changes. There's also negotiations. You may recall, we stand with America or with Trump. Republicans and Democrats in the Senate came together to send a message of unity to the world. It's time for the House Republicans to do the same thing, to pass this bill immediately, to stand for decency, stand for democracy, to stand up to a so-called leader hell-bent on weakening American security. And I mean it sincerely. History is watching. History is watching. In moments like this, we have to remember who we are. We're the United States of America. The world is looking to us. There's nothing beyond our capacity when we act together. In this case, acting together includes acting with our NATO allies. God bless you all. May God protect our speakers, and I promise I'll come back and answer questions later. Thank you.
Sir, when Trump said that, sir, what did Putin hear?
What's plan B if the speaker doesn't act?
Sir, the hostage is...
Hello, folks. This morning I had the honor of meeting with Alexei Navalny's wife and daughter. As to state the obvious, he was a man of incredible courage, and it's amazing how his wife and daughter are emulating that. And we're going to be announcing the sanctions against Putin, who is responsible for his death, tomorrow. And but the one thing that was made clear to me is that Yolanda she's going to continue the fight he had underway. So we're not letting up. Thank you. And we need to do more, and the United States will do more. In the coming days, we're going to join with our friends in Jordan and others in providing airdrops of additional food and supplies into Ukraine, and seek to continue to open up other avenues into Ukraine, including the possibility of a Marine corridor to deliver large amounts of humanitarian humanitarian assistance. In addition to expanding deliveries by land, as I said, we're going to assist in Israel facilitate more trucks and more routes to get more and more people the help they need. No excuses, because the truth is, aid flowing to Gaza is nowhere nearly enough now. It's nowhere nearly enough. Innocent lives are on the line, and children's lives are on the line. And we won't stand by and let until we get more aid in there. We should be getting hundreds of trucks in, not just several. And I won't stand by, we won't let up, and we're not going to pull out, trying to pull out every stop we can to get more assistance in. So, and here's the deal. We've been working, and hopefully we'll know shortly, and I know you've been informed. We're trying to work out a deal between Israel and Hamas on the hostages being returned and immediate ceasefire in Gaza for at least the next 6 weeks, and to allow the surge of aid to the entire Gaza Strip, not just the South, but the entire Gaza Strip. And so, Georgia, we have a lot to discuss today. And we talked about everything from China and on, but I'm happy you're here and delighted that you came back. I know you're on your way to Canada, right?
Yeah.
Good. The floor is yours, madam.
Well, I'm delighted to be here today in my capacity as G7 chair, and I look forward, Joe, to hosting you in Puglia next June for the Leaders Summit. I'm working on a concrete and substantial G7 summit. We intend first and foremost to reaffirm the rule-based international order, defending freedom and building peace for Ukraine. And in doing this, I think we need to tackle the narrative that wants the West against the rest. So the dialogue, our dialogue within the G7, within the global South is essential. The crisis in the Middle East is of the utmost concern. We need to coordinate our actions in order to avoid an escalation. And in this regard, we do fully support the U.S. mediation efforts. The humanitarian crisis is our number one priority. Italy is concentrating its contribution on this. Meanwhile, we are cooperating with all regional actors that must be part of any future outcome. We should work together on concrete steps to guarantee the two-state perspective, which is the only long-term sustainable solution. And then the Houthis' attack on commercial vessels that endanger freedom of navigation in the Red Sea are unacceptable. EU naval operation Aspides, that, as you know, is under Italian tactical command, is an important response to the disruption of transit through the Red Sea. Then, building on Italy's role in the Mediterranean, the G7 will pay special attention also to the African continent. We've been discussing it for many times, but I think we have to remember that Africa is not a poor continent. It is, on the contrary, incredibly rich in human and material resources, but it has been neglected and exploited with a predatory approach for a long time. And I want to reverse this approach together with you, which is also a root cause of the migration crisis. We need to support Africa's development on an equal basis and put an end to illegal migration while fighting human trafficking. Human trafficking has become the most financially rewarding crime globally, and we cannot accept it any longer. For this reason, I came here today also with a proposal to launch a global alliance against human traffickers. The G7 will discuss artificial intelligence as well. AI is a means. It can be a good or a bad one. It depends on our capacity to govern it, to tackle the risks and the impact it can have, for example, on the labor market. We want to develop AI, but also we want to be certain that it remains human-centered. And then, last but not least, I came here to boost our strategic cooperation. And our relations are enriched by the presence of more than 20 million Italian Americans. During our last meeting here in Washington, we said we wanted to improve our bilateral cooperation and our trade, and we did it. For in 2023, our bilateral trade reached the highest amount ever with $102 billion of exchange. So I think we did a good job, but I also think that we can do even better. And I hope this will be our mutual goal for this year. Thank you, Joe.
Well, it is, and I tried to help. I married an Italian American. Thank you all very much. $1,000 a year, even for expensive cancer drugs that cost $10,000, $12,000, $15,000. Now I want to cap prescription drug costs at $2,000 a year for everyone. Folks, I'm going to get in trouble for saying that, but if you want to get an Air Force One and fly to Toronto, Berlin, Moscow, well, even Moscow, probably. And bring your prescription with you, and I promise you I'll get it for you for 40% the cost you're paying now. Same company, same drug, same place. Folks, the Affordable Care Act, the old Obamacare, it's still a very big deal. Las Vegas in 2018, you've had embodied excellence. 5 straight playoff appearances, 3 final appearances in 4 years. And this year, the best regular season record in league history, including the most wins in the season. 8-1 in the postseason before winning the title again. And along the way, you led by giants of the game. Hall of Fame coach Becky Hammond. Becky, where? The deepest bench in the league. Starters led by 4 All-Stars. Chelsea Gray. Jackie Young. Kelsey Plum. And a woman new to the limelight. Asia Wilson, the pride of Columbia, South Carolina. Jim Clyburn here because he's bragging about you a lot. While she couldn't be here, I want to acknowledge someone who will be considered one of the greatest all-time coaches, Candace Parker. She played 16 seasons in the league, 2 Olympic gold medals, 2 regular season MVPs, and a final MVP. And look, I'm going out on top of the world with her 3rd ring. She announced her retirement from the game. But I want to thank her for an incredible career. We know she's got a whole world in front of her, a whole world. In 2024, we have a chance to make hope and history rhyme again. Are you ready to do that with me? Are you ready to move forward, not back? Are you ready to choose unity over division? Dignity over demolition? And choose truth over lies? Are you ready to choose freedom over democracy? Because that's America. Folks, I've been doing this a long time. I know I only look like I'm 40, but I've been doing this a long time. But I've never been more optimistic about our future, and I mean it. We just have to remember who we are. We're the United States of America. There's nothing, I mean this sincerely, think about it. We're the only nation in the world, as a student of history, I can say, that's come out of every crisis stronger than we went in. There's nothing beyond our capacity when we do it together. God bless you all. May God protect our troops. And increase economic growth. Folks, imagine what we can do next. 4 more years. Pause. 4 more years. Pause. 4 more years. 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 Are you ready? 4 more years. 4 more years. 4 more years. 4 more years. Are you ready to move forward? Well, thank you. We're all ready. We're ready to move forward, not back. Are you ready to choose unity over division, dignity over hate, truth over lies? Are you ready to choose freedom over democracy, for democracy? We can do this. I give you my word as a Biden, I've never been more optimistic about our future in my entire career. Just have to remember who we are, and I mean this. Think about it. We are the United States of America, and there's nothing beyond our capacity. Nothing, nothing, nothing when we do it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Hello, Wisconsin. Nick, thanks for that introduction. Look, before I get started, I want to set the record straight. Please sit down. I went to a Catholic high school in Delaware, taught by the Norbertine priest from St. Norbert's College. A little team called Green Bay. Now, here's the deal. We were the only high school in Delaware that overwhelmingly rooted for Green Bay. Not a joke, I'll tell you why. Every single Sunday. Not only did they have great teams at the time, we still do, but not only that, my theology professor at the Catholic school I went to was a guy named Riley, last name, and he had been drafted by the Green Bay Packers, and he decided to become a priest before that, so he didn't go. But every single solitary Monday that Green Bay won, we got the last period of the day off. Now, we Catholics call that indirect bribery, but it worked.
Do you hope Americans take away from you coming on this trip?
Acknowledge that the best way to avoid these kinds of battles in the future is to stay strong with our allies. Do not break. Do not break.
Do you feel that Americans are slipping? Do you think that Americans are not holding that view anymore? That
No, I
there's a
don't.
slippage?
I think the Americans hold the view. I think there's a rise and a sense of some within the country wanting to let that slip. The idea that we become semi-isolationists now, which some are talking about. I mean, the idea we had to wait all those months just to get the money for Iraq because we were waiting. I mean, it's not who we are. It's not who America is.
Sir, did anything surprise you on this trip?
One policy question for you, sir. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Anything surprise you on this trip that you heard?
Even though I'd been here before, it surprised me how much it awakened my sense of why it's so valuable to have these alliances, why it's so critical. That's the way you stop wars, not start wars.
President Biden, I want to give you an opportunity to respond to this question about the national debt.
He had the largest national debt of any president in a 4-year period, number one. Number two, that $2 trillion tax cut benefited the very wealthy. What I'm going to do is fix the tax system. For example, we have 1,000 trillionaires in America. Billionaires in America. And what's happening? They're in a situation where they, in fact, pay 8.2% in taxes. If they just paid 24%, 25%, either one of those numbers, they'd raise $500 billion, I should say, in a 10-year period. We'd be able to wipe out his debt. We'd be able to help make sure that all those things we need to do, child care, elder care, making sure that we continue to strengthen our health care system, making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the with the COVID, with dealing with everything we have to do with, look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump?
Thanks. Thank you, Mr. President. I wanted to ask you about your, you mixed up Presidents Zelensky and Putin earlier today. And you now have sort of your key allies, including the British Prime Minister, the President of France, and the German Chancellor having to step in and make excuses for you on that. Officials here are saying off the record that your decline has become noticeable. Hasn't this now, frankly, become damaging for America's standing in the world? Thank you.
Did you see any damage to our standing by leading this conference? Have you seen a more successful conference? What do you think? And the Putin piece, I was talking about Putin, and I said, and now, at the very end, I said, here, I mean, Putin. I said, no, I'm sorry, Zelensky. And then I added 5 other names. Look, guys, the idea anybody suggests that we haven't had an incredibly successful conference. How many times did you hear in that conference, I know it sounds too self-serving, but other leaders, heads of state, in thanking me, saying the reason we're together is because of Biden, because Biden did the following. Look, folks, this is, well, anyway, I thought it was the most successful conference I've attended in a long time, and find me a world leader who didn't think it was. Next one, Nancy Cordes, CBS.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. President, your political future has hung over the NATO summit a little bit this week. Speaker Pelosi made a point of suggesting that your decision on whether to stay in the race was still open. George Clooney and a handful of lawmakers have called on you to step aside. Reuters is reporting tonight that UAW leadership is concerned about your ability to win.
UAW just endorsed me, but go ahead.
Thank you. My question for you is, how are you incorporating these developments into your decision to stay? And separately, what concerns do you have about Vice President Harris's ability to beat Donald Trump if she were at the top of the ticket?
Look, I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president, but I think she was not qualified to be president. So let's start there. Number one. The fact is that the consideration is that I think I'm the most qualified person to run for president. I beat him once, and I will beat him again. Secondly, the idea, I served in the Senate a long time. The idea that senators and congressmen running for office worry about the ticket is not unusual. And I might add, there are at least 5 presidents running or incumbent presidents who had lower numbers than I have now, later in the campaign. So there's a long way to go in this campaign. And so I'm just going to keep moving. And because, look, I got more work to do. We've got more work to finish. There's so much, we've made so much progress. Think about it. Think about where we are economically relative to the rest of the world. Name me a world leader who wouldn't want to trade places with our economy. We've created over 800,000 manufacturing jobs, 1.5 million, so things are moving. We got more to go. Working class people still need help. Corporate greed is still at large. Their prices, the corporate profits have doubled since the pandemic. They're coming down, and so I'm optimistic about where things are going. Danny Kemp, AFP. I've said before, Russia will not prevail in this war. Ukraine will prevail in this war, and we'll stand with them every single step of the way. That's what the compact says, loudly and clearly. And now I want to hand it over to the president of Ukraine, who has as much courage as he has determination. Ladies and gentlemen, President Putin. President Putin. He's going to beat President Putin. President Zelensky. I'm so focused on beating Putin, we got to worry about it. Anyway, Mr. President.
I'm better.
You are a hell of a lot better.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. Thank you very much. Thank you so much, Mr. President, dear our friends of Ukraine. Last year at the NATO summit in Vilnius, we took a very strong step with a G7 declaration on security for Ukraine, for Ukrainian people.
I got your back as well. Members of Congress, Debbie Haley, and by the way, I want you to know that I've spent a lot of time with Debbie. She's helped me like a lot. And I forget which event we were at, and someone said, "You're his wife, aren't you?" Because she looks like Jill, my wife. And Suri, thank you very much. I can't tell you. Look, we got state leaders. Lieutenant Governor Gilchrist. He's hard to miss. He's 7'3". Secretary of State Benson. Lavora Bourne, Democratic chairman. We got civil rights leaders, faith leaders, labor leaders, including SEIU, CWA, AFL-CIO. Thank you all. And by the way, I don't call it labor, it's simple. Unions. I say the word. Debate and disagree. We compare and contrast the character of the candidates, the records, the issues, the agenda, the vision for America. But in America, we resolve our differences at the battle box. You know, that's how we do it, at the battle box, not with bullets. The power to change America should always rest in the hands of the people, not in the hands of a would-be assassin. You know, the path forward through competing visions of the campaign should always be resolved peacefully, not through acts of violence. You know, we're blessed to live in the greatest country on earth, and I believe that with every soul, every power of my being. So tonight, I'm asking every American to recommit, to think about it. What's made America so special? Here in America, everyone must be treated with dignity and respect, and hate must have no safe harbor. Here in America, we need... My fellow Americans, I want to speak to you tonight about the need for us to lower the temperature in our politics. And to remember, while we may disagree, we are not enemies. We're neighbors, we're friends, co-workers, citizens, and most importantly, we're our fellow Americans. We must stand together. Yesterday's shooting at Donald Trump's rally in Pennsylvania calls on all of us to take a step back, take stock of where we are, how we go forward from here. Thankfully, former Trump is not seriously injured. I spoke with him last night. I'm grateful. He's doing well, and Jill and I keep him and his family in our prayers. We also extend our deepest condolences to the family of the victims who was killed. Corey was a husband, a father, a volunteer firefighter, a hero, sheltering his family from those bullets. We should all hold his family and all those injured in our prayers.